Okay, it's 1:02, so I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to jump in and start sharing my screen. I'm going to hope and pray that technology is working perfectly, so I'm going to assume that everyone can see my screen. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be here for about 45 minutes, and I will say there's going to be time at the end for questions, but if you have any questions throughout the session, don't hesitate to throw them in the chat or in the Q&A if you have comments. Joanna will be monitoring both of those channels and will be jumping in if there's anything that comes up that we should answer right away. If not, feel free to save your questions till the end. Either way is fine, totally up to you as the individuals. Most of you probably already know Joanna, but I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I am Victoria Mahoney, and there's a lovely picture of me there by the beach pre-COVID, obviously, because there's no mask. I am a university partnerships executive here at Unibuddy. And just a little background on me and myself. Prior to joining the team at Unibuddy, I was actually working in an admissions office as a student ambassador or tour guide. And prior to working in the admissions office, I was a transfer student. So I had a very unique experience looking for a college not once, but twice. And I think I learned even more after the second experience than I did after the first one. So that's just a little bit about me. I've been at Unibuddy almost 2 years now, which is crazy to think about, but I love it here. I'm super excited to be meeting with you all today and telling you about what we're doing here.
And you've been a buddy, correct, Victoria?
That is correct. Yes, I omitted that. During my time as a tour guide, I was also a Unibuddy ambassador, so I chatted firsthand on the platform.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, welcome everyone. Most of you know me. My name is Joanna Severino, and I'm the founder and president of Prepskills and US College Expo. I'm so excited that Victoria has joined us today to help navigate the pathway to peer-to-peer recruitment admissions. And what I've been finding over the past several months, especially, is that our parents really want to be able to engage and connect directly with the students. And so this is a fabulous platform to be able to do that. It allows for the personalization of the process in terms of recruitment and getting all that intangible information that we can get behind the scenes, because it's one thing to do a Google search or go to a static website, but it is another to be able to have that peer-to-peer interaction with authenticity and transparency. So thank you, Victoria, for joining us today.
You're very welcome, Joanna, and I couldn't have said it better myself. It's almost like you actually work for Unibuddy. Cool. On to just a brief agenda for today. So we've already gone through introduction, so there's one thing checked off of our to-do list. We're going to talk about student voice throughout marketing insights and how Unibuddy fits into the picture, and how Unibuddy has transformed the digital engagement strategy around those peer-to-peer connections that are so important way before COVID was even a thing, but even more so now. And as we move into this, whatever the new world is going to look like as the world starts to be vaccinated, which is super exciting. And then, like I said earlier, we have about 10 to 15 minutes allocated at the end for Q&As, but please feel free to throw any questions into the Q&A section as we work through the slides today. So right off the bat, there's 3 major components that go into reaching and reassuring students in a digital admissions process, which is where a lot of international students end up working through the admission cycle is through a digital experience. Not all international students have the ability or the accessibility to visit campuses in person. So, and that's become even more relevant as domestic students also don't have the option to visit campuses in person and take tours and attend classes or lectures as they might have on open houses or accepted student days, or et cetera. And what we've learned, and the industry has learned, is that there's 3 components of how to reassure these students. The first is that real experiences matter, and students, first of all, Gen Z lives on social media, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, which is the new thing. And if you don't have a TikTok account, I recommend it, but beware, it is very time consuming, or Snapchat. These students are on these platforms every single day for a few minutes to maybe a couple of hours, depending on how much they like TikToks. Facebook is in there as well still, but again, not as much as previous generations. And I'm sure many of us have Instagram accounts, and you could see that there's an influencer for every single thing that can be sold in the world. And at the end of the day, higher education and universities are trying to do the same thing. I'm sure your group and your institution, your admissions team already has an Instagram account or a Facebook account where you're promoting your current students through Instagram stories or student takeovers to show what it's like to be a student for a day at your institution. So you already are using your social media, but Unibuddy can take it to the next level. And we'll get into that a little bit later on. But we all know that real experiences matter. And I mean, think about how Google has transformed the review industry. And now you probably don't go anywhere to eat without looking at a review from a prior person who ate there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I completely agree, Victoria. I have 3 boys. I'm a mother of 3 incredibly engaged, boys that definitely are utilizing social media.
Yeah, for sure. I also think Reddit is a really great place that students are turning to get admissions information and advice. I just got a puppy over the weekend, and I'll probably plug him a couple of times because I love him so much. But I actually was doing some research on Reddit and figured out what kind of dog food I should be feeding him because he's a very picky eater. So, the depths of social media are endless, and there's so much information out there, and students are taking it to their advantage for their higher education decisions. The second piece about how to reach and reassure your students is that you have to build their confidence. If they're not confident that your institution is the exact right one for them, or even, mainly right for them, doesn't have to be 100% of a best fit every single time. But, you have to build up their confidence because at the end of the day, if they're not sure about this, if they're a little uneasy in their stomach, they're going to be hesitant to enroll, to finish the application, or even to attend some of your events. And what we've seen across the industry is that decisions are influenced when they have more personalized communication pushed out to them. So whether that's, you're targeting international students with a different type of messaging than you are your domestic recruits, I think those are really important things to think about.
And does that include building confidence with parents as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Great point, Joanna. I know my mother had a ton of questions during my 2 admissions processes, questions that I would never answer. And I was kind of like, oh, come on, mom, don't ask that question. You're embarrassing me. But parents worry about the safety of their kids and their students. At the end of the day, they've raised this child from infancy until adulthood. And they're sending them off into the world for 4 to 6 years, depending on what their journey looks like. And that's a huge step to let them go, even if it's just within the same state a few hours away, let alone to an entirely different country like many international students do. So for sure involves making sure the parents are confident that it's the right fit for them.
Mm-hmm. I think you need a parent buddy as well.
For sure, for sure. And then the last thing that we do, and the industry is working on improving, is to reassure students. You have to make sure that they have a sense of belonging. Students want to feel like they're going to land on campus for 4 years and they're going to be successful. They're going to belong there. They're going to make new friends. It's going to be a huge part of their next step into adulthood. They want to feel like they're welcome. And how you do that is to show them that there's students like them who mirror their image or who are studying similar topics, who have made this transition before, just like they are going to one day. At the end of the day, I mean, my brother, he just started college this past fall and he entered a pharmaceutical program. He talked to so many different students at pharmacy programs and he said, what is your life actually like on a day-to-day basis? Am I going to fit in and belong amongst this student body? Are there students like me who are from New Jersey coming to campus and exploring this option? So they really just want to talk to students who are like them, who have done this journey before and who are walking the shoes that they're going to be walking in a few months' time.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great point, Victoria. And we do that already when we host live events or virtual events. We invite student ambassadors to be present so that they could share their journey and story. So wonderful.
Absolutely. It's one thing for the admissions office to, make all this wonderful marketing, stuff that they send out, but it's another thing to hear it from a current student who's actually living the journey. So I'm sure you're all wondering, that's great and everything, and we want to reach and reassure our students digitally. Well, how do we do that? And the answer is Unibuddy, very simply. Through Unibuddy, we're making it so that students can make better decisions, more confident decisions, and the right decision for them through shared human experience by making it easily accessible for prospects to talk directly to current students or even staff and faculty members as well. So I won't bore you with this slide, but if you have any questions at all as I'm continuing the presentation, please feel free to throw them in the chat. So how does Unibuddy exactly work is I'm sure the question in everyone's brains. So I will say, first of all, it's a very, very simple implementation process. And it's so simple, we don't even like to use the word implementation here. We call it onboarding. And the longest part of that process, which usually takes about 3 to 4 weeks, depending on how schedules line up, is making sure that your ambassadors or buddies or tour guides fill out their profiles with all of this lovely information that you're seeing on the slide. For example, where they're coming from, what they're studying, and a little bio about themselves saying, hey, I'm Victoria, I'm playing softball here, and I'm studying math and computer science. And all of this is housed on your university's website, or through our partnerships with Prepskills, it can also sit directly on Prepskills' website. So you can generate leads from that area as well. But by keeping your students on the website, you're making sure that they have the ability to connect directly with your current students, also faculty and staff, and then read blogs that are produced by your current students as well. For the ambassadors and for prospects, all of these messages are available through our mobile app as well. So they have the ability to chat directly through the website, then continue the conversation on their mobile app or on their cell phone. They can get email notifications or SMS text notifications as well whenever they receive a response or a new question is asked to them if you're a buddy. I will also say that we don't have a photo here of the back end of our platform, but on the back end, you're going to get access to all of the analytics involving who the prospects are that are chatting, what questions they're asking, what topics are coming up often from different regions or territories, or even amongst different majors as well. There's a ton of different ways that our customer success team can help you shift through that data to figure out exactly what your prospects are talking about at different stages of the funnel. Yeah, go ahead, Joanna.
I was going to say, what are some top of mind questions that you're seeing?
Absolutely. Over this past year, it's, hey, what is the university like since it's a digital environment? Since they've moved classes online, how does that experience relate to, what the experience was like in person? A lot of the questions that we get are about, what program should I be studying? What are the professors like? What is the social life like? What's it like on the weekends? Where's the best pizza place? All of those questions are common among students. And they're also the types of questions that prospects don't feel comfortable asking in front of an audience or even in an email to an admissions counselor. Even the thought of my brother emailing an admissions counselor saying, hey, where's the best bagel place near campus, just seems a little silly. But in this environment, that's more than welcome. And that's what we want to encourage the prospects to ask about. We also, oh, sorry, did you have something else to say, Joanna?
I was going to say, I noticed a staff tab as well as students. So staff members can be involved.
Yeah, so staff members, whether that be admissions counselors, international folk that you might have in your office, anyone from financial aid, or even faculty members can have profiles here. This isn't interactive, but it would look very similar to how Richard's profile looks, and it would just say, what department they work in and what their role is, and what types of questions they should be asked so that you can help answer the questions. We also have that blog feature on the top as well. And with the blogs, the students write them themselves. Of course, the admin and faculty members and all of you can approve which blogs get published to the website. But the great thing about our blogs is that each one has a shareable link. So you can post them on social media, you can send them out on Instagram, Facebook, email campaigns, etc., and drive traffic back to the Unibuddy widget so that students can chat directly with the person who wrote the blog.
Great.
Cool. So that is the student and staff part of Unibuddy. There's one more piece of Unibuddy that I want to show you all. And this is what I like to call our solution to Zoom fatigue, or the solution to none of my prospects are turning on their cameras or coming off of mute to ask any questions, which I'm sure no one in the audience has experienced over the past 12 months. This is something that we've kind of flipped the switch, and it existed in a different way before the pandemic started, but we've made a ton of improvements over the past 12 months based off of the feedback from our over 450 partners across the world. And how we've done that is that we've flipped it. So opposed to how a Zoom call would typically go, where the camera is front and center and the chat's hidden off to the side, we've put the chat at the center of the screen. You still have those admissions counselors or current students giving presentations about whatever topic is happening. But in the middle, you have a free-flowing chat where students can ask questions and are encouraged to chat. Prospects can chat. Current students can also be a part of the audience here and ask questions there, or prompt others to, speak up about, hey, where are we all joining from? That's a great topic of conversation because then you get to see all the different countries where students are signing in from. On the left-hand side, we've created the ability for you to have different sub-conversations. So for example, if you're having an event with domestic and international students, you can actually create a section just for international folks to go in and ask the questions that they might have specifically about international issues. I'm sure you're also wondering all of this, all the analytics here feed into the back end of our Unibuddy dashboard. So as opposed to Zoom, where there's not so much AI built in, all of the AI here is conversational insights. You get to see who's chatting, which students are the most engaged, which prospects are most engaged, and also all the information that you want to import into your CRM, which I'm very happy to say that we are a Slate preferred partner, but we also integrate with numerous other CRMs as well. So the last thing that I really want to talk to everyone about before we move on to some more Q&As that Joanna might have or the audience might have is how are we converting students through Unibuddy? So what we've seen is that we've had an impact over every stage of the admissions funnel, from top lead gen to applications completed, all the way through to summer melt. We've seen the numbers increase for numerous different universities, from East Coast to West Coast, from Europe all the way to Australia. And what this is that it's very, very simple. You have students who are coming to your website, you have prospects who are clicking around. Maybe you don't know who they are, and you have all of these ghost leads out there that you're getting a lot of web traffic from, but you don't know exactly who they are. You don't have an email or even a contact information. We all have those fun looking RFIs that are just blanks asking prospects for information. What we've done with Unibuddy is you have traffic drivers that can be implemented across your website. And each of those traffic drivers collects the same information that your RFI will, but in a different setting where they're not only giving you their information, but they're going to get something out of it. They're going to get the ability to chat directly with a current student. So students are 15% more likely to click through our RFI through Unibuddy than opposed to your normal RFI on your website. Once we get to the application stage, once we're past leads, you're going to get 47% more applications from students who are chatting on Unibuddy versus students who aren't. And the very simple reason being is that they've taken that extra step to have a conversation. And they're more confident that they can do this and they can succeed at your school simply because a current student told them that they can, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. From the time we go on to admitted students converting, you're going to see approximately a 54% increase of students who are actually being admitted and then yielding and enrolling. So, you can see all the stats there. I won't go through every single one, but I think the overall image is very, very clear that we can have a huge impact on your admissions funnel. And given that it only takes 3 to 4 weeks to get Unibuddy up and running, there's still some time before May 1 yield to get some Unibuddy interaction.
And I find it interesting. So if we have prospective students that want to chat with a Unibuddy peer, they're able to do that. And what about our student ambassador representatives from Unibuddy? Are they able to outreach and say, hey, Victoria, I see you're interested in XYZ?
Great question, Joanna. So we actually put the power in the prospective student by letting them come to the website, come to that little Unibuddy platform, and filter and decide who the student is that they want to talk to. We found that when the prospect makes that decision of which student they want to have a conversation with, it's going to be a better conversation overall, and they're going to chat for longer. What you can do as a university, though, is if you're already hosting campus tours, a lot of our university partners will print out little business cards for their Unibuddy buddies, and it will have a URL link or a QR code, which we're very familiar with now, to their profile directly. So they can go in and chat directly with that student after a campus tour or after an event that they might have attended. Another thing that our university partners do is they'll create email campaigns directly to students who maybe have started an application but haven't completed it yet, or have expressed interest in specific programs or from specific regions. And they'll send out emails saying, hey, we know you're interested, but don't hear it from us. Why don't you go talk to one of our current students who's also from India or China, or also interested in studying biology. And here's, Jonathan, who's doing both of those things at the moment. So that's just a couple of ways that we can push out those current students to prospects, but we ultimately leave it in the prospect's hands.
That's fabulous. So, when they're generating all these leads at US College Expo, for example, they're able to invite them to chat with some of these Unibuddy student ambassadors.
Absolutely. And it also gives the university a really good idea of which ones of those leads are actually interested in attending the university. I'm sure we've all had a couple of leads come through where they don't fill out an application, they don't do anything, they don't even interact with our events and content. But through Unibuddy, you can weed those out really quickly and focus in on the students who are truly interested and make sure that those students convert through the platform and through chats and conversations.
Fabulous.
Oh. And just the last slide I have for you with a couple of our current university partners. So we have over 450 across the entire globe in 29 different countries and across 4 continents. So there's just a handful of partners there. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open it up for more of a conversation and Q&A because I'm sure everyone in the audience is sick of seeing slides and webinar presentations all day long. So Joanna, do you have any questions for me, or are there any that have come in from the audience?
Yeah, well, looking to see if we can attend to our audience questions first. What about pulling this together? We do really want to make this an easy process for the universities. Should they be taking their existing student ambassador program and transferring it online? Like, what's the process like?
Yeah, that's a great point. If your university already has a tour guide program or an ambassador program of any kind in the admissions office, those students are always more than willing to join the Unibuddy platform. It's super simple for them. It takes, I'm sure, Joanna, you're probably going to ask this question of how much time it takes for the ambassadors. Less than 25 minutes a month, so about 4.5 minutes a week answering questions. We all type very, very quickly on our phones and we don't really realize it. Another thing that I want to say is if you don't have an ambassador program at the moment, you'd be really surprised to see how many students are willing to volunteer to give back to prospects. Every single current student remembers what it feels like to be a confused high school student trying to find the university for them. And we actually have a great story of one of our partners, Arizona State University, who didn't have an ambassador program, but were really keen on starting with Unibuddy. And we helped them send out, our CS team helped send out an email to their entire student body asking for volunteers. It was not a paid position, explaining what the job would be and what it would entail. They were looking to fill 30 spots, and they got over 100 responses to that email with students trying to join and be on the Unibuddy platform. So students are more than willing, and even if they're not getting incentivized by pay or money, there are other ways to incentivize your students through learning experiences, workshops, and professional development assistance as well.
Wonderful. Great. So you talked a little bit about the CRM integration and the ease of that. Anything else you can add there? I know that that's always a question.
Yeah, absolutely. So our sign-up process on Unibuddy, that RFI, can be tailored to match exactly what your institution is looking to collect from prospects to make it super simple for it to port into your CRM. If you are using Slate or a couple of others, we have direct integrations through our backend. But if you're not, there is also a very easy manual way to download the list of prospects and then to upload them into your CRM, which again, our customer success team is awesome, and they will be more than happy to answer any questions about CRM integrations as well.
And are there ever any concerns about the dialogue, the peer-to-peer dialogue and the monitoring of that?
Yeah, of course. Great question. A lot of current students know that the university has oversight into what they're saying here, but at the same time, they feel empowered and they feel like they've been given this huge responsibility and they don't want to let their institution down. Also, typically the students who volunteer for this or who sign up to be a tour guide or a Unibuddy buddy, they love your institution and they just want to give back and show others how much they love it as well. So I will say that if anything unsafe or inappropriate comes through on the chat, the ambassadors have the ability to block that prospect and to report the conversation as well. But that happens very, very little, about 3 for every 1,000 messages sent. So that gives you an idea of how few messages get blocked. For the admins on Unibuddy, they have oversight into exactly what the conversations say And they can also jump in and answer questions that, the prospective student might have that the current student isn't able to answer, whether that be about admissions process questions or financial aid, etc.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Just looking to see if we have any other questions from our audience. I think you summed that up quite nicely. Anything else you want to add about the program and the success? Maybe share some stories.
Yeah. I will just say also, for those of you who joined, thank you so much for joining us. My email is very, very simply victoria@unibuddy.com. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, but I will also be following up, or someone from our team will be following up later this week with some more information and to catch up with all of you. Thanks, Joanna, for typing that out. I will just say that so many of our university partners join on just with international programs, or they come to us and say, hey, we've never had an ambassador program, or we have no idea where to even start. Don't worry about that. I think students are always more than willing to engage with prospects. It's just about figuring out what the right platform is and how to do that easily. I'm sure many offices, and I talk to dozens of universities every single week, but they're all doing peer-to-peer engagement in a roundabout way that's not very time efficient. So they have a prospect who comes and says, hey, I want to talk to someone in the biology department. That's great. Admissions counselor A has to go and find a student in the biology program willing to have that conversation. Then they connect the two via email. Fingers crossed the conversation happens. It might not ever take place. And if it does take place, it's not always, you're not always able to track it, or you're not able to, see what the insights are or get analytics on the back end. Just lost my train of thought there for a second. I saw a question come through, so we'll jump to that.
Yeah, we have someone already using Unibuddy, and they want some ideas about recruiting ambassadors. They're a small college with less than 1,000 students.
So this is a great question. I actually personally went to a small college with less than 1,000 students. I would recommend reaching out to different departments on campus, whether that's your student government association, your athletics department. Each one of these various clubs and organizations or departments have folks who are students who are team captains, or who are on, the student athletic advisory committee, or who are on the SGA board. Those are all students who love the institution and who are already in leadership roles. You can offer them, they don't have to work in the admissions office. You can just offer them to join the Unibuddy platform as well. So I think really reaching out to your colleagues across campus in different departments and, explaining to them what Unibuddy does, how little of a time commitment it will be for the current students, and put them at ease that it's not a big lift. It's just like texting back one of your friends who's looking to apply to your university. So I hope that helps. I would also say, Yvonne, if you need more advice, reach out to your customer success manager, as they would definitely have some more tips and tricks there. And you are very welcome. Cool. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I should talk about. We've covered implementation. We covered the impact that we have. I guess I could talk a little bit about how we approach the different areas of what you're working to obtain as a university. So if we have a conversation and you're really focused on increasing applications, increasing leads, or if you're really focused on decreasing summer melt, we have different, what we like to call recipe books that can help you achieve those goals. So how we implement Unibuddy at your institution, or how we roll it out across your website, might look different depending on the use case, or depending on what your goals are as a team and as an organization. So yeah, I think that's really all that I've got for everyone out there in the audience, unless there's any more questions that are going to come rolling in. Give everyone a few minutes.
I think each of the institutions may have their own personal circumstances and questions that they want to address with you. How do they go about doing that? Do they have to book a demo? How can you support them?
Yeah, absolutely. So someone from my team will be following up with everyone who joined the webinar today, later today or tomorrow. If you would like to reach out to me earlier, feel free to shoot me an email. The next step would be a demo with one of our university partnership managers. And we would show you what the back end looks like and all the analytics you'd be able to obtain and how the solution would best work for you and your institution and your goals. And I'm sure all of you out there are wondering, we will also talk about pricing in that meeting with you as well. So don't worry, that is a question that we can talk about.
Great. I'll just put my information as well. Work. Good.
Great. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed today's session. Thank you again for joining us. And thanks, Joanna, for this wonderful partnership between Unibuddy and Prepskills.
Thank you. I think this is amazing. I'm so looking forward to seeing the flow through of all the leads that we generate at the expo, and seeing that drive conversion. So I'm excited about it. Thank you.
Absolutely, me as well. Well, everyone, have a great rest of your day, evening. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great weekend because it's almost Friday.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.